And so this is Michael Yoakley, and I want to welcome everyone to our second week of our Business Quick Start program. And I'm super excited to welcome my very good friend, Michelle Anderson. She is beyond amazing. I was super lucky to be part of the Project STEAM team with her to introduce this season's flagship product. And Michelle has been in the business for 20 years, and I know she started when she was like 8. So, and she seriously has amassed so many accomplishments. Founders Award in multiple categories, you guys. Over $1.8 million in career sales. Her recruiting is off the hook. But tonight we're talking about host coaching, and you want to talk about someone who knows how to host coach. You don't get to $1.8 million in career sales unless you know how to coach your hosts to simply amazing results. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Michelle.
All right. Thanks, Michael, for asking me to come on tonight and share with your peeps here. Host coaching is kind of a thing that I'm a little bit fanatical about. But I really believe that once you see how host coaching changes your business and you just consistently keep doing the same things, you see that it works. And so it really is the cornerstone of my business. So I want to ask you a question, and I know some of you guys are probably virtual consultants, and some of you guys are cooking consultants, and hopefully most of you do some of both. I will, full disclosure here, I am 99.5% a cooking show consultant. I do very few virtual parties. I have done some, so I do know how they work, but it is not my thing. I would much rather be in front of some people and cook some food. And, old dog, one trick pony. I have a thing that I do, and it's not broken, so why should I fix it? And so I am speaking mostly from the aspect of a cooking show consultant in the way that I coach my host. But I want to speak to you guys that are virtual consultants, because I know that one of the big complaints with virtual shows is that the show average is so much lower than a cooking show, typically, not always, but typically. And so I just want to encourage you that possibly if you would incorporate a lot of these same things as if it were a cooking show to a virtual host, girl, I didn't know, like, people weren't sending virtual host packets. I'm like, what? You're not giving them catalogs? How are they having a party if they don't have catalogs? So I'm just saying, if you started coaching all of your shows the same way, not one way for virtual and one way for cooking, I think that you might see a lot better results with those virtual shows. So first thing I want to do is paint you a little picture. I want you to imagine going out and getting in your car and you're driving to a show and you have absolutely no clue whether there's going to be any guests, whether the host has plates and cups and drinks, whether she has a table, you have an area, if anybody's coming, you don't know what she wants as far as like what she's working to get. And that's what you're driving to. But then I want you to imagine getting in your car and you're driving off. You've got your directions in your phone. And so you hit your GPS and you're going, and you already know that she is expecting, 12 to 15 to 20 guests, that she has around 5 orders waiting for you. When you get there, that she has a table, you've seen a picture, or you have an idea of, because you've talked to her, of what room you're going to set in. You've told her that you need to be near a plug because of the quick cooker, and that it's looking like you're going to have an awesome show. Which would you rather do? I don't know. I would rather go to a show where I knew there were going to be some people. But holy moly, y'all, if you are not host coaching, you're just getting in your car and driving someplace and you don't even know if there's going to be anything. I hear all these stories about shows with 2 guests and, and I mean, okay, it could happen to any of us, but if you're host coaching, the likelihood of it happening is way less. The other thing I want to talk to you about right up at the start here is if you have a high cancellation rate, I can absolutely promise you it's because of your host coaching, or should I say lack of host coaching. I just tell it like it is. So decide how you want to leave your house. Decide if you're doing a virtual party, how you want to spend your time. Do you want to spend your time making all these posts and comments and games and all this stuff and not know if anybody's going to be there? Like I have better shows on Netflix to watch than to sit around and do that. So here's what I want to tell you. And this is a little saying we've had around for a long time. Host coaching is where you earn your paycheck. The show is where you pick it up. And so it's a paradigm shift. The hard work of the party is before the show. The hard work of the party is before you ever even go to the show. And if you will start doing, and I call it the hard work, the work of it, the discipline of it, if you will do that before the party, your paycheck will be waiting for you. So you want to do this for your own benefit because I know many of you are probably already excited about Disney. You're excited about the fall. Maybe you want to earn some money for Christmas. And I'm guessing if you're in this group with Michael, that you're maybe wanting to possibly promote to director. And so I just want to tell you, coached shows they're host coach that are successful are going to help you meet all those goals. A bigger paycheck, prepare you for the beginning of the year to get you off to the best start. Get you bookings for the rest of the year, and also what all those things are going to do is have more people in the room. So if you are looking to promote, you're going to come in contact with more guests, either virtually or in person. But I want to tell you something. You have to host coach, even if you took you out of it. You have to host coach because you are not doing your host any favors if you don't tell her what your expectations are. And I think this is where a lot of consultants, especially newer consultants, get scared because they don't want to come across bossy. And they don't, and sometimes your first shows, and I don't know how long you all been in the business, sometimes your first shows are with people you know, and so maybe you have a little bit of a hard time feeling like you're telling them what you expect. But I just want to say you're doing your host the very best favor if, and I actually had 4 points tonight. I forgot to tell you. The first one is know what to expect when you go. So in other words, know what you're expecting, know what your goal is. Number 2, we're on number 2, sorry. Set the expectation with your host. If your host doesn't know what a good party is, if your host doesn't know how to have a good party, you're not doing her any favors and you're sure not doing you any favors. So I'm sure many of you have heard of this, but my entire host coaching system is based on the little 5-15-5. That is what I've done for many, many years. It's worked really well. My show average usually hovers around $1,000, so I'm pretty happy with that. And so I feel like it works. And it's simple, it's easy, and it lets my host know very clearly up front, it's on everything I send her, what the expectation of a good party is, and then I break it down and tell her how we're going to get there. So in case you haven't heard of it, and I'm sure you all have, it's 5-15-5. 5 orders before the party. hosts are always going to have somebody when they say my party's Tuesday, October 7th, that says, oh, I have school that night. I have whatever that night. So I coach my host to be prepared and have words to say when somebody tells them that right up front, that they're not going to be able to come to the party. I coach them with words. Oh, you know what? Michelle, my consultant, said that there were going to be people that weren't going to be able to come the night of my party. You can never pick a perfect date for everybody. So I'm going to send you my link to my party so you can look at the new catalog. And I'm looking for 5 orders before my party. Let me know if you place an order on my party. You'll be one of my first 5. I give my host the words to say. So she knows before I come to her house that night, I am encouraging her to have 5 orders. The next expectation is to have 15 guests in the room. Now, does that always work? No. Sometimes it's 12, or like it was for me Friday night, people just kept coming in the door and I wasn't sure where we were going to hang them. And there were lots of kids. It was loud. It was a lot going on, but we made it work. And she was an overachiever, so she didn't have 15. She had about 22 there. And so, but I coach my host that 15 people, and here's the words I say. Michael, when we have our party, if we've got 15 people in the room, you know what? Nobody feels awkward or salty because they're like 2 guests in the room and it's kind of quiet and crickets are chirping and everybody's thinking, oh man, you know, you must not have that many friends. I better buy up, nobody's thinking that. When there's a lot of people in the room, people are visiting, they're laughing, they're having a good time, they're getting their iced tea or whatever, and they're excited about what's happening. They're at a party. And so the reason I want 15 is because when we have bodies in the room, then I can give you the very best show that you deserve, and I can get you the most for your evening that you're going to give me. Your time is precious. And so the 3 hours I'm going to be at your house, I want them to be fantastic. And so if you get bodies in your room, ask everybody to bring friends, then I promise I'm going to give you a great party. So I coach my host over and over about having 15 bodies in the room. Then I'll finish up and say, now your phone is going to start ringing at 5 o'clock. And what's going to happen, it's going to be the person with the sick kid, the person whose work had to go over, and they're not going to get there at the last minute. We're going to follow up with them and say, we're so sorry you missed the party, but I'm looking for 5 orders after my party. I'm really close to my goal. Can I send you the link for my party? And if you want to place an outside order, let me know. 5, 15, 5. That's 25 orders. It's a magic number. Guys, host coaching, what it's really about, I didn't know this at the beginning, but if you understand this now, you'll be so much further along. Host coaching is a numbers game. And so if you coach that host to success by number of orders, number of people, we worry about the dollars with our wonderful demo we do, or with our Facebook presentation, but you have to coach them to success. So that was number 2. Number 3 is make a system. In order to coach hosts, now I don't know, Michael I know is probably doing around 8-10 shows a month. I do about 11 every month. And so when you do that number of shows, you have to have a system in order to make this stuff mindless. I know some of you are probably way more tech savvy. Michael is way more tech savvy than I'm ever going to be. He does all kinds of amazing stuff. He shows me stuff when we're together and I'm like, mind blown. I don't even know how you just did that, but do it again. I make things very monotonous and routine so that I do it the same every week. I have a day I do invitations. I mail invitations for my shows. Now, this is an old dinosaur hat trick, but I just want to tell you, when I do the invitations and I put them in the mail, then I know exactly how many have been mailed and I know what day they were mailed on. So I do that. I know there's lots of high-tech ways of doing Facebook invites and all those other kinds of things. I do also a Facebook event, and I want to encourage you to coach your host to invite in multiple ways. We cannot rely on one way to invite guests anymore. And if you're out there right now and you can hear me and you've been guilty of having a party where the only invitations that went out was the Facebook event, and then you went to the party and there was and there was like 2 people there. I'm just telling you, stop it. Don't do it anymore. You're setting yourself up. I mean, could you have a fluke good show? But I'm just telling you, it's not the way to do it. You have to have multiple ways to invite people. I tell my host, and here's a great host coaching line. I'm going to set up a Facebook event for us tonight when I go home. This is if I'm at a party and they're booking a party. I'm going to set up a Facebook event for us tonight. I'll invite you. This is our save the date. Everybody knows what a save the date is now because of weddings. So I say, this is our save the date. This is going to tell people we're having an event, but this is not our invitation. You get a save the date months before the wedding to tell you to set that date aside and mark it off on your calendar so you don't book something else. But if you didn't actually get the wedding invitation, you wouldn't know where to go. You wouldn't know when, the time, all those details. And yeah, they're on my Facebook event. But the invitation, now whether it be like I do, the flyer and the mini catalog, maybe you want to do a postcard, maybe you want to do, we don't have red stamp anymore, but you want to do a textable invite. But the invitation then is the real invitation to the party. When I explain it to them that way, they get it. The other thing that I'll say to my host, if you are doing invitations like I do, is when I coach my host, I tell them up front, I am only going to ask you one hard thing. And I get quiet and they're like, what? And I'm like, you have to give me a guest list like we were going to have a shower together, a wedding shower, a baby shower. You would never just throw up an event on Facebook for your daughter's wedding shower. No, you would mail invitations to this event that is really important. And I'll tell my host, you have to give me a guest list. I'm going to mail invitations like we're having a wedding shower, and it's the only hard thing I ask you to do. When I coach them that way, when I give them their host packet, I really don't have a problem almost ever getting a guest list because I prepared them ahead of time with what the expectation is. So more things about a system. I make all my packets up for the month. I take them to my shows with me. I hand them out right there. So I save a lot of postage. Now, of course, when we have season changes, sometimes I'll have some to mail. Sometimes people book shows that aren't at parties. So I mail a few every month. But for the most part, I like to put it in my new host's hands. And the other thing that I believe that does is I start host coaching them right then, but they walk away with something in their hands and they are much more likely to be committed because now they go home with this packet. They've made a commitment to me. The other thing I do the invitations on Mondays. And the other host coaching thing I do is this is Sunday night. Sunday nights are my evening where I send texts that I've saved in my notes on my phone. Michael, aren't you impressed that I do this? When I've made some really good texts with all the right things in them, so my people that then I'm waiting for guest list the next week, they get a reminder from me on Sunday nights. My people whose shows are the next week, then they get a reminder about, I'm going to arrive at your house at 6 o'clock. You need to have plates. You need to have a table, all the reminders. My people who are in between, hey, you need to talk it up this week. So no matter what week they are, 4 weeks out, every Sunday night, they're going to get a text from me. They come to expect it. If you keep doing the same thing over and over with people, they come to expect it and appreciate it. And so I send those texts out. It literally takes me 15 minutes. I set with my calendar, I copy and I paste. I copy and I paste. And I send those out every Sunday night. So those are things about making a system. Last one, 4. I'm over my 20 minutes. Shoot. Okay. Number 4, the fortune is in the follow-up. So I mentioned this in the previous thing about my text, but every single week, the 4 weeks before their party, they are going to get something in the mail from me. Mail is a dying thing. Most millennials don't even know where the post office is. And so if you send your host to be like a little card, if you send your host to be, sometimes I send the host letters, but to be honest with you, most of the host letters, I've had hosts, the ones from the company with the recipes on them, I've had hosts where I showed up and they were confused and they thought we were making those recipes. And they had like the ingredients for that. I'm like, we're not making that. Where did you think this? I just sent you a note. And so I've kind of shied away from those. But every week for 4 weeks before their party, they're going to get something in the mail from me. I text them on Sunday. On Monday, I mail them something. Every single week. It might be a paragraph and it could be a postcard. I'm really old, so I have a lot of those old, they were called Nancy's artwork postcards, and a whole bunch of people have given them to me. So I've got just oodles and gobs of them. I'll just write, it'll have like a little piece of stoneware picture in the bottom, and I just write a little paragraph. I'm so excited about our party on October 4th. Fall is the best time to have a party. It doesn't matter. They get something in the mail from me usually on Tuesday or Wednesday after I text them on Sunday. That's 2 contacts a week. Now, you will notice what you have not heard me say on this training call, and that is 3 phone calls to success to talk to your host. I am just as authentic as I'm going to be. In the old days, I called my host religiously 3 times. It worked really well back then, but nowadays it's real difficult to call a host 3 times. I'm going to be honest with you. The way I have a whole nother aspect of my life. My husband and I are in ministry. My life is real busy. I have a very ill stepfather right now. So I'm doing what works for me. If phone calls work for you, I want to tell you there is nothing better than somebody actually hearing your voice and hearing how excited you are. And if you're able to do that, then you absolutely should. But I know many of you probably work a full-time job like Michael does, outside of your Pampered Chef job. And so I wanted to give you ideas of what I'm doing. If you're contacting that host a couple times a week, it still is impactful, even if you can't call them. Now, I believe they should hear your voice at least once so they know you're alive and you're really coming. Because they start to get nervous, especially if they're having 15 to 20 people at their house and they haven't heard your actual voice. They start to get skittish and scared those last few days. But I've already coached all that stuff, and more than likely they're going to actually get a phone call from me a day or 2 before the party. And they're going to hear my voice. I'm going to talk it up big again, remind everybody you haven't heard from, have them bring a friend. I'm going to be there with bells on. It's going to be great. Get those outside orders, and it's my last rah-rah. And that's what they get a day or 2 before the party. And then I show up and do my thing. Okay, I hope that was good. I hope you got something new. Maybe not, but I hope you at least got something that if you have been doing it, that you'll keep doing it.
Oh my gosh, I loved it. I loved it. Oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. So I've been in this for 10 years and I learned a ton tonight. Like seriously. I know that we all do a lot of the same things, but by the same token, we've got people on this call that are literally restarting their business, brand new to the business, been in the business, just, whatever the case may be. I love where we're at as a business. Like, especially with the $29 kit. I know that Vonda's on here right now, and I'm so glad she's back with us. And I don't mean to just call her out, but I love that people can do what they want with this business and decide where they're at. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I would say that I loved hearing from you, Michelle, is the mailed invitation. And maybe they don't have the resources to do that themselves. Like you're mailing the invitations for your host, but still making sure that she's sending out the invitations is super important. I mean, I get it if you're brand new or if you do this as a side gig, as a very part-time side gig, you may not have the resources to do that, but you can still make sure those invites go out. Just like Michelle was saying, The other thing that I loved about it is the contact, and that's the connection. That's the relationship part of our business, right, Michelle? Because that's why you're so successful, is the relationships, the bonds that you're forming with your hosts.
They have to hear from you. And even a text, if it's, Michael could read a text and he would know it was me. Just by the way it was worded, he would know that it inflected me. And so if you make that, your own, your words your own, they're going to hear you in that. The other thing I wanted to just mention real quick about the invites, I've had people on my team that were new, and I always tell people, you don't have to do what I do, just do what I say. And what I mean by that is, if you don't have the resources, and I totally get it, to do invitations. Here's the deal about invitations. They're a tax write-off for me, so that's a sweet thing. But if you're new, I just want to tell you and give you permission to ask your host for postage. And it's all in the way that you sell it. If you say to your host, Stacy, I'm going to take care of everything. I only am going to ask you for one hard thing, and that is to give me a guest list with addresses. I'm going to mail out these postcard invitations or whatever if you want to say postcards, say that. But when I come to your house, I'm going to have you reimburse me for the postage for our postcard stamps. You can say that, and I had many consultants on my team that have done that for many years. They just add it to whatever the host total is at the end, and get that. There's lots of ways around that. So I just wanted to throw that out there, Michael. Sorry.
I love that. No. Thank you for saying that. So we've just got a couple minutes. Does anybody have a question for Michelle? Seriously, you guys, your opportunity to tap into a $1.8 million seller.
So would you mail in an invitation for an online?
So that's interesting. You're talking about for a virtual party.
Right.
You know what? And I like I said, I told you I haven't done a ton of virtual parties, but something that I would consider, and you might want to just experiment with, and you tell me what you think, Michael. If your virtual host would be willing to give you a guest list, what if you made a neat little label that said, like, Tracy's having a Pampered Chef online party. Wear your comfy clothes on your couch. And then it told the date, and then you gave the link or whatever, and swap that on one of our postcard invitations. So then what came in the mail was a Pampered Chef invite, made it real official. It might be something worth trying. And I wouldn't do it. I know on virtuals, they have a tendency to invite like 100 people to the group or whatever. I for sure would not encourage you to mail 100 postcards. But what if you said, give me 10 names, give me 15, what if you just picked a number and said, your best people, tell me them, and I'm going to mail postcard invitations to your 15, best peeps or whatever. Might be an idea. And of course, there is for sure a way to make, rather than just having them all be added into a group and, hey, it's a Pampered Chef party, what if before you did that, the host then got, we don't have Red Stamp anymore, but the host got a graphic invite, a graphic with the invite details that then she could text to everybody. So it was like she was saying, I'm inviting you to the party before, boom, here's the party. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
I love that idea. Like, I love that. Like, it makes her, like, small group feel really special.
Right.
And the other thing you could do, like, if you did that with your label is, and if you add a friend, I'm going to put, there's only like 15 of you, and I'm going to put you all in a drawing.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh, yeah.
I knew Michelle loves like a quick little giveaway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody else?
Real quick, can you repeat number 1?
Yes. Number 1 was know what to expect when you go. And that was about knowing what you have waiting for you. It's up to you whether you know what you have waiting for you when you go. If you don't host coach, you're not going to know. If you do host coach, you're going to know.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anybody else? I know we're a minute or so past, and I want to respect Michelle's time.
Sorry, I talk too much.
No. Are you kidding me? I could listen to you all day.
Thank you, Michelle.
Oh, Carol.
Thank you so much. It was excellent.
Do we have another question?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you'd be willing to share some of the words that you've given host coaching. I hear a lot about, I'm new. I mean, I guess I'm back. But I'm not sure what to tell them. Tell them what to expect. I still don't know what to expect. So I guess I'm looking for real basics.
Yeah, I can, how would I get those to them, Michael?
If you have words that you use or scripts that you share with your team, I'll be happy to post those. Or if there are just resources that you like, I still use some old resources that I share with my team all the time. So, like, do you remember the 3-call checklist? And I know we don't do 3 calls anymore, but those words, whether it be via email, text, whatever, I still use a lot of those word choices. So.
Michael, do you have the 515 5 flyer?
Well,
I'll
there's
send,
so many of those.
I will send mine to you.
Okay.
I don't know the lady that just spoke, but I would encourage you incorporate that for sure, and I will try to get you some words too. I will try to just go back and find some of my saved things and send to you, and I'll send them to Michael, and he can post them to you guys.
I think a lot of your words come from that old checklist that I'm talking about, Michelle. Like variations, not your exact words, because you're amazing.
Just Michelle-arized.
Right.
You got to make it your own, but
you have to. Absolutely.
Yours too, Michael. Those sound good.
Yeah. But I will send my 515 5 flyer when we get done, and I really do coach my host to that 515 5 system.
Okay, I'm gonna cut this because Michelle is a busy person. She's clearly $1.8 million in sales. Come on, you don't do that without a lot of organization and doing the right thing. So thank you very much, my friend. I love you so much, and I really appreciate it. And thanks everyone for joining us tonight. And I can't wait until next week. So stay tuned, everybody.
Night.